You're listening to What It's Like with Luce, a podcast highlighting ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm your host, Lucy Norris, and on today's episode, I'm chatting to founders of the Tribus Podcast, a show discussing modern life with absolutely nothing off limits. Meeting through a mutual friend, three guys come from a range of backgrounds, with two owning their own media companies and the other a law graduate. They joined me to delve deeper into the world of podcasting, what it takes to establish that power dynamic, picking themes, topics, and finding your niche in a saturated market. Ultimately, this episode is your how-to guide to starting a podcast. Without further ado, here's what it's like to be Dan, Matthew, and Nico of the Tribus Podcast. Before we get stuck into the episode, I just wanted to say that if there is a drop in sound quality throughout, I'm very sorry, but in respect of social distancing during COVID-19, I've had to record episodes remotely. In this challenging time, we're all trying our best, so I really hope everyone is staying safe and that you enjoy the episode. Welcome, Dan, Nico, and Matthew. Thanks so much for coming on and chatting with me today. I think to start off, it'd be really helpful to go around each of you and have you explain who you are and a little bit about what you do. So I don't know if you want to start with Dan, maybe?
Hello guys, my name's Dan. I am one of the co-founders of the Tribus Podcast. Bit about me, went to university in Birmingham, got a law degree, decided to do absolutely nothing with it, and then approached these two guys about starting a podcast, and thankfully they both said, yeah, let's go for it. So yeah, cheers guys.
Okay, and Nico?
I'm pretty much similar to Dan. I went to uni, but I did mechanical engineering, and now I'm still at uni. I've graduated, and now I'm doing a master's, and so I'm just basically carrying on at uni at the moment. And then I've got my own media company as well that I run on the side, so a media marketing company, and just kind of cracking on with the Tribus Podcast with Dan.
How come you did engineering in college, but you now run a media agency?
So, it's a funny one because I've always been very maths and physics and love engineering, and I still do love engineering. And I've got a job lined up in central London when I graduate for engineering. But then again, as same as Matt, as a side hustle, I kind of wanted to create something, because basically our university videos were pretty cringe, and I just didn't want to be part of them. And I was like, as a hobby, my cousins and I used to go on holiday and basically just make our own little like family films and stuff. And we had all the camera equipment and stuff, and then kind of just went to the uni and said, look guys, please stop releasing this stuff, it's embarrassing. Please let me do something that's a bit better. And they were like, go on then, let's see what you can do. And from there it just kind of kicked off, and now I've done projects with Saracens and all sorts of other people that, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's pretty much how it came by. So I kind of just run it on the side, but yeah,
well, it sounds like you're really making a go of it, which is really cool. So then Matthew, do you want to tell me a bit about your background and what you do as well?
Yeah, so I university as well, but I'm graduated a few years ago, so I'm the oldest in the team. I did media, and I've stuck with media, just kind of fell into it, enjoy video work, and now I have my own little video company doing online content, mainly focused on sport. So the current situation is 90% less work, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's a
bit nuts. But on the side, throughout all these years, I've always tried to do little side projects, side hustle things. And then when Dan approached me saying, let's do this, I'm like, well, yeah, definitely. All of the stuff in the past has always been me on my own. It's quite a struggle. So having three guys taking out different responsibilities, it should hopefully be quite a good little project that kind of grow. I always want to have just an audience to play with and have some fun and create conversations, things like that. Just hopefully it should be a good little curve of fun. So
So how did you guys meet each other?
So I met Nico through my best friend at uni, basically. And we sort of just hit it off. And then with Matt, I met was it January?
Yeah, this year,
yeah. So I met Matt through another business, and we sort of just, again, got on really well, and he turned around to the guys and said, look, I wanted to do this for a while. Obviously, with both their skill sets and the fact that they both have an interesting insight on so many different things.
So you haven't known each other that long. That's really interesting to me because the dynamic that you guys have is really natural. Like, I thought you guys were 3 friends, I don't know, that grew up together or something. So how do you think you establish that dynamic so early on?
God, I don't know. I guess from my perspective it's not 100%, like, obviously Dan knows Matt and Dan knows me, but I didn't know Matt. So I guess you kind of firstly have like a common ground by knowing Dan, and secondly, you kind of, I don't know, I feel like to do a podcast or to do something like this where you've got to talk to people or you've got to be out there, you kind of have to be the same type of person in essence, and you kind of have to both, or everybody needs to be able to just chat to anyone, like to literally talk to a brick wall kind of thing. Not saying you're a brick wall, Matt, but you know. But yeah, no, I think it's just kind of we're all just kind of bounce off each other, to be honest. I don't really know, it's kind of a funny one. Yeah,
I think it works well because we don't know each other that well, so we're kind of learning about each other as well, so make that come out in the episodes. That should be quite good.
That's true.
If we go back to before all of this started with the Tribus podcast, Dan had the initial idea, is that right? Like, for the concept, or did you guys come up with that together? And also, Dan, for you, why didn't you go out on your own, I guess, and host the podcast by yourself?
So I've always wanted to do something on like YouTube or like podcasting and stuff, and I really enjoy like the presenting side of things. And obviously, you take inspiration from people that you watch. So for me, it was like True Geordie, Joe Rogan, sort of sports people, that sort of stuff. And these two, as I'm sure people that have seen our stuff know, are very, very, very talented at what they do. They both own their own media companies. They're both really interesting blokes. And we have a common ground on sport and just general like morals and life. So it was a kind of a decision early on that I made to ask other people. I didn't really want to do it on my own, mainly because I was a bit sort of like scared about how things were going to be received as an individual person, but also the offering that the 3 of us can give to people is far better than me on my own. And I feel like the whole reason we set this podcast up was to help people, to provide some entertainment and some value. And we provide much more value as a 3 than we do as if I was just doing it on my own. So that was kind of the thinking behind it, really. And the guys thankfully leapt at the chance, and we've sort of run with it. So it's been really fun so far.
Yeah.
And why did you all, I guess, decide to go down the podcasting route rather than, I don't know, a little YouTube series or something like that? What was it about podcasting that made you go for it?
I mean, from my perspective, it's a lot easier, first of all, especially when don't live near each other. I mean, to get a good quality podcast, you probably need to meet up and have good quality microphones and have like a in-person sort of situation. But at the same time, you can make do, especially now with coronavirus and all that stuff, with Zoom and call it like just recording yourself in your own rooms, etc. And to be fair, we started it during Corona, so it's not really, we couldn't have started it with video. I think it's something that we might branch off into at some stage, and when we get, say, more of a following or more established, we might do some YouTube videos and things and kind of branch out. But I think that's probably the main thinking behind it. And also podcasts, funnily enough, I mean, I didn't really think much of them till about sort of 6 months ago. I didn't really think that they were kind of that big, but they're everywhere. And, even like big YouTubers are coming on, and yeah, fine, they do it on a video platform, but they're still doing podcasts and releasing podcasts, and they're super popular. And it's like, hey, you might as well jump on the bandwagon before you get too saturated, kind of thing. Like, it's,
yeah, definitely. No, I think it's an interesting time for podcasting as well, especially because of Corona. Everyone has a podcast now. I feel it's become the trend of the virus to have a podcast. But then I think in a way that's a good thing too, because it's really forced everyone to search for that USP and to really find what it is about their content that makes people want to listen to them over everyone else, which then in turn is producing really good quality content.
The key thing with that is, I can't remember who said it, but I listened to it it was like, funnily enough, on a podcast. But no one person is the same. We're all unique. So there's no way that every podcast can be the same. Your USP is the fact that it's you. And the fact that you look at the top podcasters now. So Joe Rogan's just been signed by Spotify for $110 million, whatever it is. The chance of getting to that stage is like 0.001%, like anything. It's like being a top sportsman. To be the very best at something, you've got to be not only lucky, but you've got to work hard. And I think for me, I want to do this sort of stuff full time. That's the ultimate goal of it, really. I enjoy this sort of stuff, and it's something that I could just throw everything into, and it's 100% worth the risk at the minute, because we're during Corona. I mean, this is unprecedented. This is essentially the war of our time against the virus. No one knows what's going to happen, so why not take a few risks?
When you decided you want to do a podcast, you wanted to do it with the three of you, how did you come up with your style of show and, I guess, brainstorm the kind of topics that you wanted to speak about?
The first time we got together, we kind of we were like, right, how are we going to do this? There's three of us. You can't just go into a podcast and be like, yeah, so we're going to ask you this question. Like, none of us had really kind of thought it out that much until that first call. And I just thought kind of straight away, I was like, well, if we have an overriding topic, i.e., I don't know, coronavirus, which is one of the topics we did do, and then that's the title that draws everyone in. And then each one of us has a segment within that title that we talk about, because Dan is more tailored towards like sport, Matt's tailored towards his thing, I might tailor toward my thing or interest in my thing. And then that kind of branches out a bit more for everybody listening. Oh, okay, I want to listen about coronavirus. But because each of us touch on different topics, it kind of puts it in a 3-stage process within the podcast, and it allows our listeners to kind of maybe resonate better with one of us, and then skip to that part, or we cover more topics, or we research better. And I think it kind of works quite well, kind of sticking to that kind of vibe of three people, 3 topics, 3 questions, 3, that kind of thing.
That was a good shout, that one, because I remember the more about brand and making things look professional and all tight together. So I was really worried about, we had obviously our name and stuff, but I kept thinking like, well, what is it? What is our podcast? What is it about? Yeah. That call really helped, because I was very concerned that you have to have a niche within your podcast every week. You have to be every new member that comes to listen has to know what they're going to be listening to each week.
We've started out as nothing, so we're building from the ground up.
Yeah.
And the important thing to remember that Matt said to me very early on was, we're not looking to be better than the people that have been doing this for years. We're looking to be better than people who are starting out now.
Yeah, for sure. I think we live in such a world where everything's so instant all the time. It's hard to stick at something if you don't see results, overnight. We're kind of led to believe that everything is an overnight success, especially with social media. So if you're not seeing it straight away, it's so easy to just go, this isn't going to work. Let's do the next thing. But I think it is really about sticking to it at the beginning, because those guys like Joe Rogan and I don't know, I always use Steve Bartlett as an example, and Gary Vee, they were doing this media stuff for about 10 years before it actually took off, and it just looks like it only took off, but there was so much groundwork before that. But the other thing I think is really interesting about you guys is it kind of seems like there's, no limits to what you're willing to share and what you're willing to talk about, because I know you've done recent episodes on mental health. How did you come to that decision that you were going to completely be transparent about everything like that? Or was it difficult to decide you were going to open up and speak about those kind of things? Or how did you come to that decision to do that?
For me, from the start, I said to the guys, look, if we're going to do this, I want to try and help people, because my attitude to the whole mental health thing from the start was, look, I want to do an episode on it. I want to talk about it. And the point is that if you have something to offer, why not say something? Why sit in silence? Because there's stuff that we covered in those episodes that is heavy. It is quite heavy. But at the same time, I don't know many people that are our age, because suicide is the biggest killer in men under the age of 40, between 21 and 40, or 18 and 40. And there aren't many people that are willing to just sort of talk through it. And I think the fact that we, as a threesome, as a podcast, we want to tackle tough issues, but we want to help people. And that's one of our USPs, if you like. We want to provide entertainment, but at the same time, we want to provide help and value or an escape for people. And that was one of my big things when I said start the podcast with the guys is, look, I want to do something on mental health. We want to tackle topical issues as well, but we do want to help people, and we sort of ran with it. And the two guys were very supportive and sort of gave us the platform to do that. So fingers crossed it does help some people.
Yeah, I think also one of the things that I guess it was kind of a rule we set out as well. It wasn't we made sure that when we talk about a touchy topic, and to be fair, coronavirus in some instances can be a touchy topic at the moment, mental health, touchy topic, certain other things, relationships, whatever, touchy topic. We also make sure that we make it a conversation and not a lecture, not, this is the way you do it, or, this is correct, or whatever. It's like everything we talk about is open-ended, so that anybody can interpret it in any way, so that when you're listening to it, whether you're on, the right-hand side or the left-hand side of the conversation, you can relate to it, or you can think about your opinion based on what we say, rather than saying, this is what we think and this is right, because instantly you kind of, lose half your audience and kind of start arguments and things like that. And we don't want to be a controversial podcast necessarily. We want to be kind of more of an eye-opening conversational podcast.
Yeah, definitely. And what is, I guess, the end goal or the next big step for the Tribus Podcast?
This is a really, really weird end goal, but when I first approached them all, we had the first call, there's just something about taking the podcast to New Zealand. Like, I love New Zealand as a country. I want to do some more traveling around there. But I think if we took the podcast out there, it'd just be an unbelievable episode. Like, the scenery is beautiful, the country is beautiful. You're having a laugh with two of your mates, recording a podcast. Life is just good. If we get to that point, I think we've hit the nail on the head. We've succeeded.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's go for that. Let's go for that.
I mean, obviously, with the episodes we've released at the minute, the aim was to help one person.
Yeah. And
I've had messages from several people, which is really nice, saying it's helped me and stuff. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Like I said earlier, you get a kick from it. You want to do more. And I'm never really satisfied with one thing. Like, we could go to New Zealand, and by basis of what I've just said, it'd be like, oh, we've achieved everything we want to achieve. But I don't think that's ever going to be enough. I'm always going to want something more. I'm always going to want to take it to a new level, because there's always the chance that you could do that. The possibilities are really endless.
I think for me, when we get to the stage where we have people interacting with us, I think I'll be pretty happy then. When there's people actually saying or mentioning or commenting, guys, can you talk about this? Or, I would like to come on your podcast. I'll be pretty happy with that, to be honest. That'd be pretty cool.
I was going to echo that as well. Zach is saying, just have that interaction with a small fan base for now. I'd really have regular people. It would be quite nice, I think.
Also, if each of you could share your idea of success and what your personal definition of that word is.
Oh, God.
Who wants to start?
God damn, you start.
I'm going last. I ought to go first.
Go on, Matt, you start then. You're the oldest, it counts.
Success, I think, would feel, to me, more settled with, like, my projects. But I always feel like I'm just doing lots of things at once. But success, if things are, like, all firing well and, regularity and just a bit more settled and less stress. I do get a lot of stress from trying to do lots of things at once. So sometimes I look at myself and think I should focus more and take away some stuff.
I think for me, success it's very cliche, but it's a saying that I really like. And I think people have heard me say it a lot, but money makes the world go round and love holds the world together. I think is a very powerful saying, a very powerful quote. And to be honest, success for me is where I'm satisfied with what I'm doing and earning enough money. I know that sounds very low, but unfortunately it is the key to being comfortable. You can't be comfortable if you don't have a roof over your head and, that sort of stuff. But I think that's my definition of success is the quote, money makes the world go round and love holds the world together, I think.
I'd say similar, to be fair. I think success for me is being happy in what I'm doing. So similar to Nico, obviously you want to be you want to be comfortable, you want to have a nice life. But if I'm enjoying what I'm doing and I'm enjoying every day for what it is, then for me, I'll take that. So just be happy and hopefully enjoy what you do. That's pretty much it.
Another question for you guys, another deep one. If I put your 10-year-old self in front of you today, having been through everything you've been through, both career-wise and just in life in general, what's the biggest piece of advice you'd each give your 10-year-old self moving forward in life?
I think for me, I've got two things. One is value your friends and value your time having fun. Like, don't ever feel guilty of being like, I want to go and have some fun, I want to go meet my friends. Don't ever feel guilty of that, and don't ever be like, nah, I don't want to do it today. Take that opportunity. And number two is, if you want to do something, no matter how, if you get shot down or if you think it's not possible because you'll never be the next Joe Rogan, the next, I don't know, whoever, Bill Gates, doesn't matter. You don't have to be the top of the top. Give it a go. And, you know, if you haven't spent a solid 6 months on it and giving it a proper go, researching things, then you haven't tried hard enough. And that's what I would say is give it a real go. Anything you want to do, just try it.
Yeah, that's pretty. Adding to that, they put yourself first. And for me personally, don't take everything so personally.
Yeah, okay.
That's definitely a big one. But yeah, put yourself first and work hard. I mean, good things will eventually happen. It may not be immediate, but you know, have faith that you know the process will eventually come good. So yeah, just
I guess mine will be. I know you're going to work a lot, and you're going to try and do lots of things, but try and focus on one thing at a time. Try not to stay in a lane, and try not to just stick to one focus for a bit, and don't think it's not working and start another one. Just keep trying to stay with that path, and it will happen.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of mine, Matthew, stay in your lane, because I think it's so easy to, you know, watch especially social media, because you can watch everyone, you know, and instantly feel like you're not doing enough. Even if you're the most, you know, one of the most successful people in your field, there will always be someone that's doing more than you. And if you haven't quite conquered how to focus on yourself and stay in your lane and not let everyone else's activities or opinions or thoughts infiltrate what you're doing, you'll just never be able to move forward. You'll always be stuck. So that's a big one for me as well. But thank you guys so much for coming on and chatting with me. It's been so interesting, so much fun to chat to all of you at the same time. I was a bit nervous about having 3 people, but you made it easy for me. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
having us on. It's been very fun. We really enjoyed recording with you earlier, and this was very fun as well.
Thank you so much for listening, and as always, don't forget to rate, share, subscribe, and leave a comment if you like what you hear, and follow @WhatIt'sLikePod on Instagram and Facebook. For more information and to listen to the Tribus podcast, visit the links provided in the show notes. I'll be back next week with more inspiring stories, but for now, this has been What It's Like with Luce.